Hey, we're here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania with Mike Korsak, and we just walk into a shop, and it's hard to ignore this beast of a joiner here. And you started to tell some of the history. It's got a pretty interesting background.
It does have an interesting background. And this is an Oliver 166 BD. It's a 12-inch wide joiner. It has a direct drive motor. And so this joiner was made in or around 1943, and it was purchased by a company called Defense Plant Corporation, which was an entity of the U.S. government.
Okay.
That was created to increase manufacturing capacity for World War II. So this spent, I think it spent all of its life, in a pattern making shop for Defense Plant Corporation in I think Oklahoma or
okay.
somewhere out west.
So I mean, this was part of the war effort.
It was, yeah. So it has an interesting background, and I did a complete restoration on it because when I got it, I mean, as far as operational, it was fine. I did end up replacing the bearings, but the paint was in poor shape. So I stripped it down completely, and I mean, down to scrubbing every last fastener. And
how long did that take?
Forever. It takes forever, because I stripped a lot of the smaller parts with an electrolysis setup, which is like you're submerging metal parts in electrolyte solution and then using electricity to sort of remove all the non-metal components. And it's like you put them in, you submerge them in your tank or whatever you're using for like a day, 2 days, 3 days. So I would just like submerge stuff, set it up, let it run. And there's so many small parts, it took forever.
I mean, so it's a beautiful piece, and it's got an incredible history, but it's a huge part of your shop setup. So you use this every day.
I do, yeah. It sees a fair amount. I mean, you know, all my material comes to me rough sawn, and so it all needs to be surfaced before I can plane it. I don't do any of that by hand.
Yeah. I was surprised to see there's actually, it looks like some sort of original dust collection. I'm sure it's not all that functional, but
yeah, it's certainly it's not factory original. At some point in its history,
okay.
So this is just a piece of pipe with then just flanges welded to it to attach to this bottom casting. So this is heavy pipe. It's like quarter inch thick.
Yeah, I mean that looks like steel pipe.
Yeah,
that's not messing around.
It's a very heavy fitting, but it does an okay job. And when I got the joiner, they had someone in the past had a bunch of shields and pieces of rubber around the cutter head. There's no power to this at the moment. Around the cutter head to try to deal with chip issues. But I took those off. It sprays chips sometimes, but I deal with it.
Yeah, that's what a broom is for.
Exactly.
So the other thing that I noticed down here is you have like poured concrete footings under this. Is that going down to the foundation of the building, or?
No, they just, so these are, so we're standing on OSB, which is my current finished floor, but underneath this is a layer of 1 inch XPS foam, blue foam.
Okay.
And so that's not a suitable base for a machine, just because the foam flexes and so does the OSB. And so I just cut squares down to the slab, the existing slab, drilled some holes for threaded rod just to tie these new little pads, if you will, to the existing slab.
Okay.
And then so these pads provide just a base that I can set the joiner on and level it and know that it's not going to change over time as foam compresses or OSB, changes as well.
It's interesting though, because we do get questions about shop insulation and foam flooring or foam under your flooring. So there's a workaround. Don't let that stop you from insulating your floor.
Absolutely not. Yeah, no, because you can always do what I did here and cut into it, and it actually makes for a somewhat spongy floor. It's not spongy like. I don't know how to describe it.
Yeah, it's not moving, but it's good to stand on.
Yeah, it's way more comfortable than just concrete.
Yeah.
Like concrete kills my feet, whereas my feet are tired at the end of the day, but it doesn't nowhere near as bad as concrete.
So you've got a 3-phase motor on this, right?
Yes.
It came with a 3-phase motor.
Yes, yeah.
And you do not have 3-phase run to your house, right?
I don't. unfortunately, I don't. And so I generate three-phase power with a rotary phase converter.
Okay.
And I have two machines that run off three-phase, and so the output from my rotary phase converter just goes into sort of a separate three-phase circuit which powers two outlets.
Okay.
And then both of my three-phase machines are corded with plugs, and I just plug them in to the three-phase outlets.
So the idea of switching this to a single-phase motor never that you wouldn't do that.
No,
Because a lot of people would buy this and pull out that motor and put a single-phase motor.
Yeah, I chose not to do that. First of all, because it's direct drive, and so it's not like you can't buy a single frame motor or a single phase motor that will work in this situation.
So this is directly hooked up to the arbor. You said direct drive before, and I don't think I put two and two together. Okay.
Yeah. So the rotor in the motor is the cutter head shaft.
Yeah.
That's the same thing. Now, if you wanted to really modify this, you could just remove the motor, have the shaft turned, and have a keyway put on the shaft so
Okay.
that you could run it off of a different, not direct drive motor, a different motor mounted, on the floor or somewhere else.
Yeah.
I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to sort of destroy the motor, the current motor setup. And also, direct drive is really smooth because you don't have vibration caused by belts, belts out of alignment, things like that. So, and it's really smooth. And this joiner has the bearings are in it's called oil bath. So they're not submerged. The oil only goes up to a certain level on the bearings, but the bearings run in oil, and as the balls rotate, they kind of sling it around, and that's how these bearings lubricate. And so you probably can't see it, but there's some little Gits cups under here.
Oh, wow.
They're just
okay.
spring-loaded cups, just to keep dust out. And I've got one here for the operator side bearing, and one back here for the motor side bearing.
How often do you need to check that?
I check it several times a week, and then I think it just depends on usage, how much oil I put into it. But I just keep my oil can under. It's back under here.
Okay.
So tucked out of the way, so it's close by to put some more oil in.
How much was the phase converter, if you don't mind me asking?
I want to say it was under 1,000, like 800 to 900, something like that.
But you're using that across two machines.
Using it across two machines, and I know there are plans. You can get places online to build your own phase converter. For me, that was outside of my pay grade. Apparently, though, it's very simple.
Okay.
It's just all purchased components. But I also weigh that against, like, well, if I just get a phase converter, I'm installing it. It's factory made. If there's an issue with it, there's a phone number I can call. If something goes wrong, maybe I send it back to get a new one, something like that. And so for me, that cost benefit, it made sense to buy one.
So it's definitely something you would do again, getting three-phase machines.
Oh, definitely. And now that I have the rotary phase converter, if I need to expand that three-phase circuit to accommodate another machine or two more machines, it's very easy to do.
Okay, cool. Well, don't be afraid by three-phase machines, because you might stumble onto
definitely not
a beautiful find like this.
Yeah, and because if you're open to three-phase, you can certainly get old machines.
Yeah.
That nobody wants, and they're, I don't want to say they're easier to find, but a lot of people are going to pass up on a three-phase machine because of the dealing with the issues of running three-phase.
Yeah, you've got less people to fight with at the auction block.
Yeah, well, there's still quite a few out there who will fight with you.
All right. Well, thanks for showing us this beautiful Oliver joiner.
Sure, thanks for asking about it. It's a beautiful thing and a joy to use.
Cool.